Hi, it's me, Vicky Marie. What do you think? What do you think? Do you like the boa? I feel under pressure now after the mass to, wear something to make you laugh, especially on a Friday night, isn't it? I mean, it's Friday Night Live. I can't promise I'll always be wearing weird and wonderful outfits, but for special occasions like a Friday night, I've got my hairpiece on and I've got my boa. And I do really like this boa, actually. It makes me feel like, I know I don't look like Marilyn Monroe, but it makes me feel like Marilyn Monroe. It's warm, though. It's very, very warm. But do you like it? Do you approve? Anyway, so first thing I'd like to say is, as always, thank you, everyone, so much. Everyone who's subscribed, everyone who's liked my videos, everyone who shared my videos, anyone who has joined and become a member, all my members. I can see there's a lot of members out there on the chat. Thank you so much for being a member. If you want to become a member, it's only €1.99 a month, cancelable anytime, and it means you get to join in the members' lives on a Thursday evening. You get to see the unedited stream. You get to read my novel, my new crime novel, as it develops. And you get to see other videos, photos, etc. that are only available on the members section. Thank you so much to everyone who's become a member. Thank you also. Some of my members have also sent me supers, super chats, super thanks, super stickers, PayPal'd me. There's another thing. What's the other thing? Super chat. Oh, bought me a Ko-fi. Thank you so much. Everyone who supports my channel in any way. Some people just watch. They don't even subscribe. That is also supporting my channel. Thank you. And even you trolley dollies out there. This is a special little sachet for you, the trolley dollies. Thank you so much. Because you also support my channel in a really strange way. Anyway, let's go. Being normal is boring, Rose Petal. It certainly is. Right, I'm going to go back up to the top, say hello to everybody. Hi, Chumba. And we are going to talk, just let me say before I say hello, because there'll be people maybe watching this, watching my channel for the first time. I don't always dress up in a boa and a hairpiece. But lately I have been trying to wear something a little bit different because it just livens things up. You know, life's boring, isn't it? Life's depressing as it is. People have got problems, things going on in their life. And when they watch my channel, I'd like to think they're at least going to have a laugh. You know, even though we talk about serious subjects. And tonight we're going to talk about the Jonestown Massacre, which was a terrible, terrible event. But we can, what's good about my channel is all my chatters are nice. They all chat, they get on well together, they support each other. We try and have a little bit of a laugh somewhere along the line, even when it is a serious subject. Because at the end of the day, all this shit happens in life, doesn't it? Serious things happen, horrible things happen, but we have to just get on with living anyway. We can't let it get us down. But these things are important, and I'll tell you why. This Jonestown Massacre in particular, it's something, you know, I've looked into a lot because it fascinates me how a person, one person, normally a man in these cults, it's normally a man, but there are, you know, one day I'll look at a female cult leader. It's not only men, it is women, but it's normally men. How can they, you know, cast this spell over people that they would do things that you would always think you will never, ever do it. You would never, ever do it. You would never, ever be hoodwinked into that. You would never, ever go along with that. But these people that do, they are normal people just like me and you. So what is it about this, the charisma of these leaders that they can get people to do these things? And this is what fascinates me always. It's the psychology of things. you know. Anyway, so that's what we are going to talk about. We're going to talk about Jim Jones, the People's Temple, and the Jonestown Massacre, where over 900 people died in an act of revolutionary suicide. Anyway, oh God, I've said the S word. There you go. That'll be YouTube. Will be on to me. I'm going to set up a Rumble account because I hear that Rumble don't care what you say or what you do. But not that I ever say or do anything really bad, but you know, just sometimes with YouTube, you feel like, you know, God, it's like, what am I supposed to say? Can I say that? Or I don't know. Anyway, and they nearly every single video out this video, they'll be limiting they limit the monetization on all your videos because you're talking about something. But I never talk about anything with gory detail, and I never talk about anything with, you know, disrespect or whatever. But anyway, there you go. That's YouTube for you. So I may have to. I'm thinking of opening a Rumble account just in case. Just in case. So, you know, so watch out for that. Okay, sorry. So I haven't even said hello to anyone yet. So we'll go back to the start. Chumba. Hi, Chumba. Hi, David. Hi, Renee. Oh, hope you... anyway, never mind. I'm sorry to hear that you've had a bad week, Renee. I hope your weekend is better. So, Rosia, I put up your comment there. No to animal cruelties. How fantastic. So the town El Verger in Spain has banned the burning of the bull's coat. I mean, it actually seems ridiculous, doesn't it, that they even ever did it. You know, Spain, the country where I live, and I love it in lots of ways, but obviously these sort of things. And honestly, I just want you all to know out there, don't ever think that Spanish people in general are cruel to animals. They're not in general. Spanish people love their animals. But there's this element more in the north than anywhere else. But these are traditions. You know, it's hard to explain, but they're traditions like fox hunting. And I'm not saying that means they should be allowed to carry it on. They shouldn't. But they're ingrained. And also a lot of tourists. The tourists have to take responsibility. Most people that go and watch bullfighting or anything like that now, they're tourists. You know, most young Spanish people, they're not interested in bullfighting. You know, it's, you know, so it's a big thing. But that is a brilliant result. It's a brilliant result that they ban that, and it'll be the start of something else. Just something else to tell you. Finito is not a Spanish word. Terminado. Finito is Italian, but finito is one of those words like kaput that people use because everybody knows what it means. You know, it's always kaput, even though that's a German word, but they use it in Italy, Britain, Spain. Everybody knows what kaput means. Finito is another one, but it's not a Spanish word. Spanish is terminado. Okay. Hi, Ruth. Hope you're feeling better today. Hope your pain's eased. I think I've said hello to David. I've got confused because I was started going on about the bulls, etc. Desi, hi Desi. Renee's got her feet up now. Good. Where am I going? Oh, you've been making big decisions this week, Renee. Well, I hope they're good decisions. Hi, Mellow Maggot. Saskia, hope you're feeling good today. Chumba's got a dinner in the oven. I don't have my dinner till after the show, but I should have it before, really, but I just can't do it. His OnlyFans, yeah. Do you know, it's funny, isn't it? I have got an OnlyFans. I mean, I'm not. I don't put any pictures on. I started an OnlyFans. I didn't quite realise what OnlyFans was, so I did start an OnlyFans account, but it's for my Spanish that did it. Anyway, I've never gone on it. I don't think I've ever even put a post on it. But yeah, it's turning into OnlyFans. I just want to make you laugh. If it makes you laugh, I'm happy. Hi, Rio. Thank you, Rio. Well, it's different, isn't it? It's different. I've got a red one as well. Don't even ask why. I mean, I have been to a few sort of like posh. This dress, can't actually see it, well, I'm not standing up, but this dress I've had for years. And when I say years, I mean over 10 years. It cost quite a lot of money. It's silk. And it was an evening gown that I wore to an award ceremony thing that I went to. And since then I've had it shortened. So it's like a normal sort of halter neck dress now that you can wear in the summer. And it's lovely. I always wear it once every year. And you've just got to be careful how you wash it because it's silk. But it goes quite with the boa. I'm just trying to work. Oh, no, there you go. The boa, actually, a boa, I'd advise any of you ladies, if you're going to, or gentlemen, depending on what you wear, if you're going to an evening do, if you like, and you've got a dress that, like this, and you think you might be chilly, oh, really keeps you warm, a boa. Hi, Stuart. Yep. Being normal is boring. I'm trying to cheer you up. I can't even tell you what I'm going to do on Halloween. I'm not a lover of Halloween because I don't really like, but I've got to do something. I'll do, anyway, I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you what. I will do something. You can be sure of that. Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to it. I don't know what case I'm going to do on Halloween. I've got to work that out as well. Oh, Mello, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sending me a super sticker. Very kind. Thank you. Really. You get a shimmy for that. You might not want one, but you're getting one anyway. You don't understand what, Stuart? Oh, yes, hit the like. I forgot about that. Oh, Rumble. Yes, Rumble is this rival platform to YouTube, which I did do a video about Russell Brand. He's been demonetized on YouTube, but he's not been demonetized on Rumble. And Rumble came to my attention because they said the government, the British government, had written to this Rumble platform. It's nothing like YouTube. It's not as big as YouTube. Oh gosh, I always think I shouldn't even be saying it on YouTube. Are they going to kick me off? Oh, that's probably a message from YouTube saying stop mentioning Rumble. But they had a letter or an email from the British government asking them, are you going to stop the monetization for Russell Brand? And Rumble said, we think this is totally inappropriate for the government to tell us what we should do, and this is like against free speech, etc. Because they said that the content that Russell Brand has on Rumble is nothing to do with the allegations that are against him, and he's not been found guilty of anything yet. So we find it dangerous that the government have written to us and said this and interjected themselves in this. So basically what they did is they told the government to piss off, don't tell us what we can put on our platform or whatever. Whereas YouTube haven't taken Russell Brand's YouTube channel off, but they have demonetized him. They've stopped him being able to earn money from it until, well, I suppose until allegations are so. But it's like, you know, either take it off or leave it on. What are you leaving it on for? But demonetizing him, but you know, you're getting the benefit of his content being on there. So anyway, so that's the first time I ever heard of Rumble. So what I'm thinking of doing is, because of the way things are going, I think you know, we've got this new online bill coming out, and God, you just never know when one day that email might just land at my door and say, oh, right, you know, that's it, you finished on YouTube. I just don't know, because to be honest, it's so confusing to know what you can say and what you can't say. Sometimes I put videos up where I think, oh, this is definitely going to flag up something, nothing. And then other times I put videos up. Like, you know what? A video that I put up about Andrew Snowman and something he'd said. They not only limited monetization on it, but they when I appealed, because then you appeal, they limit your monetization, then you appeal, and 9 times out of 10, then they say to me, "Oh, okay, it's okay." It takes about a week to sort it out, but by which time you've gone past that sort of bit where probably more people watch your video, do you know? And like a week later, when your video's not watched so much, then say, "Oh yeah, you know." Anyway, that one with Andrew Snowman, sort of moaning about him and saying how he'd had all this money from the government, but he'd never spent it on what he was supposed to be spending it on. No. You know, and I never swore. I might have swore. Maybe I swore. Maybe it's because I swore. I don't know why they've decided that you can't have monetization on it. I really don't know that. They don't tell you that. They just say, right, that's it, no monetization, and it's been upheld. But you don't know what the actual reason is. So YouTube are a bit funny like that. But anyway, don't mention the R word on YouTube. Yeah. Okay. Right, sorry. So I've got to go back now, and I've missed people. Yeah, no, you're right. Sorry, going back. Oh gosh, got all that I've missed. I love the fact that you're all chatting. Hi, Jean. It just means that. Hi, Jackie. Hope you're feeling better. Terminado. That's it, Rose. Shelley. Hi, Shelley. Yes. Yeah, maybe they are. Rose petal. Gosh. Sorry, I can't go back. I hope I haven't missed anyone. I just can't go back all that way. And thank you so much for all being on here chatting. I just hope I haven't missed anyone to say hello to. But anyway, if I have missed you, say hello to me again, and then I'll remember. Well, it's not that I forgot. I just didn't see it. Oh, Saskia, I'm glad you're feeling better. Oh, that's right. I remember getting to Halloween. Is that sort of... Oh, Jean, listen, that's because the reason it still fits me after 10 years is because I was bigger then, but I'm still big now. I'm not, so it was too tight then. That was the thing. It's got like a thing under here, and you know, then when I wore it 10 years ago, you couldn't even see it. So I have lost don't get me wrong, I haven't lost loads of weight. I've lost a little bit. Yeah, I'm on this. Oh, I'll have to do that in another video. I'll be here forever talking about it's not exactly a diet that I'm on. I'm just trying a sensible eating thing, and I've got a plan, and it seems to be working. Oh. Yes, Rio, Halloween, the beginning of winter and the cold for you. For me, it's the beginning of the lovely time of year. You know, we've suffered. It's the total opposite in Spain. I feel like I've suffered all the way through the summer. It's been horrible. And now, actually, today was lovely. It was just perfect. Sun was shining, but it's cool. When I say cool, it's still warm. It's 22 degrees now on my computer. Oh, Mello, you've got a pink one. Well, I've got a red one as well. I wear the red one night. I feel definitely on the evening lives. I am definitely, you know, I've been wearing the masks and the hats. I'm definitely just to put a smile on people's faces. Yeah, cults. We're going to look at a big cult tonight. Yeah, Dinage. Oh, Saskia. Yeah. Winter is a good time, obviously, isn't it, to learn while the weather's bad and you're stuck inside. And I've got a YouTube channel. I sent Rio because Rio's ordered my book, and I've got like a playlist for the level 1 Spanish, so you can listen to the YouTube and follow the exercises. Gosh, I will get on to if for anyone who's out there who doesn't like. Sometimes people don't like the chat, I know. But unfortunately, or fortunately, because we like it, this is just how it goes. If you just want to hear about Jim Jones, maybe what I should do is, like, you know, release an edited version. And Shelley, you're right, JLR, I should spell the words out. Oh, I love JLR. Oh, so Chumba's headaches are getting better. We're all getting better. That's what we've got to do. Think positive. Think positive. Ibuprofen. I live on ibuprofen. Yes, the YouTube algorithm. Well, what they do is, when you make a video, like as I'm doing this video now, it will be being automatically checked, and certain words trigger, you know, them to look into it a bit more deeply. But know what the words are, and also it's not only the words themselves, it's the cluster that they're in. So you could say the word rumble and they wouldn't pick up anything, or worse words, you know, like sex or rape. You can say them, but it depends on the cluster of words that you say them in, and that's when it clings, you know. So if it comes up in a mixture of words that sets off the bots, if you like. I mean, it's very clever, to be honest. I think it's really clever, and it's got worse or better, whichever way you look at it, because now there's a lot of AI, isn't there? So it'll have got, even, you know, from the early days of YouTube, when you probably was a bit like the Rumble, where you could say anything. Now YouTube obviously has got much more sophisticated. So, you know, they do pick up on things. You try and trick, you can't trick them either. I've seen that as well, because even sometimes when you do spell the words, or you do, they still pick it up. Because I think now they've realised that if you spell out sex, it's just the same, you know, that picks up just the same as the word itself, you know. But sometimes you can say that word as long as it's not in conjunction with other words. So it's weird. But anyway. Oh. We'll be thinking of you next Thursday, Saskia. Yeah, kids love Halloween. I mean, you know, when my son was young, we used to have Halloween parties. We'd go and, you know, I'd dress up and that, but of course I haven't done it for ages. Hi, Stuart. Nuts. Oh, hazelnuts. Yeah. Well, thank you. I've got a lot of compliments on there. Thank you so much. So I'm just trying to work my way through the chat, and I literally, thank you, Jackie. It's just bright blue. You know what I mean? You can get away with things on the StreamYard. If you saw me in real life, I look terrible. Do you know, Shelley? Don't really do we do pumpkins? So yeah, I did do pumpkins when my son was young. We did get calabazas, they're called in Spain. So David, no comment, because I'm probably not allowed to say that anyway. But yeah, pumpkins, because when I first came to live in my street here in my little village, and the first Halloween, I took my son out and went trick-and-treating. Nobody knew anything about it. They didn't know what I was talking about. Because, of course, you know, this Halloween tradition of trick-and-treating, it's come from America, really, hasn't it? And then and it wasn't here in Spain at all then. But now, I mean, that's... So I've been here 20 years. So that was probably 20 years ago. So now they do go around trick-and-treating, but... Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. Now I've got to get on with the video now, haven't I? So, do you all know about Jim Jones? Do you know about Jim Jones? Do you know about the Jonestown Massacre? The reason that I've done this tonight is I've been thinking about it for a little while, but I think it is all this with Russell Brand, and he looks very culty, doesn't he? When you see, sorry, not Russell Brand, Russell Brand. he's not a cult leader, but he should be a cult leader. He looks like he should be a cult leader, doesn't he? You know, if you ever imagined a cult leader, that would be Russell Brand. And yet you've got other cult leaders like, well, David Icke, I suppose, and well, David Koresh is dead. And, you know, cults, I mean, what do we think of cults? What's the attraction of a cult? Now, to be honest, people don't always describe Jim Jones as a cult leader. He's a religious leader. It depends which way you look at it. And he, to me, he's particularly fascinating because he actually started off as, well, he was quite a nice man to begin with. You know, he was like, this is what intrigues me. What turned him from this nice, how can I put it, a guy ahead of his time, really, who believed in racial equality, who believed in socialism in its purest form, you know, because, or, you know, if whether you're a socialist or you're not, and whether you think it works or communism works, the actual idea of it is lovely, isn't it? It's a sort of utopian, might not work in real life. I don't think it does work in real life because I think people, you know, you've got to take human nature and, you know, people's personalities into it. But it was like this. He was a nice person. Most people will accept that he started off, he was a very nice person. He genuinely wanted to help people, wanted equality, racial equality, you know, all those things. But over the years, he changed and he turned into this more sort of culty type person. So first of all, I just want to tell you a little bit about him before we start sort of, well, let's have a look at him first. That would be a good idea. And I'm going to try, I mean, this is a sad story. It's a very sad story. But I want to see some of the, what's the word? The positivity in the early days, if you like. And I think this is what happens sometimes. In fact, I think this is what happens a lot. This reminds me a lot of this Orwellian. That was the other thing. I feel like we're living in this Orwell, you know, George Orwell, you know, wrote these books that were so predictive of the climate that we're living in, was everybody's watching us and, you know, free speech. Ever, you know, as soon as free speech started again, really, with social media, are they going to clamp down on it? You know, all those things that reminded me of Orwell. And then Jim Jones reminds me of sort of 1984. And in the end, not in the beginning, he started off like, I don't know if any of you have ever read 1984 or seen the film. But, you know, again, people, and the same with the communists in Russia, they start off with a lovely vision, you know, of how society can be, and it's great. And I'm all for that. But then they put it into practice and it doesn't work, and it ends up worse than as it was before. So that's basically what fascinates me, to be honest, because for me, it fascinates me. Why did he change? You know, he started off nice and ended up being horrible. I mean, more than not nice. No, he didn't just turn into a little bit of a horrible person. He turned into a mass murderer, really, ultimately. Anyway, let's have a look at him. So here he is, the Reverend Jim Jones. Not him, that's Leonardo DiCaprio. But look at him. See, when he supposedly loved animals, he was a very charismatic leader, you know. He was a son of a preacher and he became a preacher. And we're going to look at some of his talks, if you like, that he did. Well, they were more than talks, because he would heal people live, you know, in the audience. Was one of them where they would stand up and, oh, yeah, I've got a pain. And he would say, let God take away that pain, and the pain had be gone. You know, he was one of them. And it, you know, it probably did work at the time. But of course, those sort of things, you're caught up in the moment, aren't you? I mean, I did say, I think in a video ages ago, I remember my parents going do you remember Billy Graham? They went to see Billy Graham, who was an evangelist, speak in Manchester somewhere. He had I don't even know how they ended up going, but they did. They went to see Billy Graham speak. And my parents, who were just, you know, really ordinary, you know, there weren't people who did get swept up in things like that. And especially my dad, because he was a religious person. He believed, he did not religious in the sense he went to church, though. You know, he like believed in God, and he was quite, you know, a really, my mum never went to church either, but suddenly they went to this Billy Graham evangelist meeting, and they were going up and giving the naming and everything. They said it was like a spell cast, you know. And of course, the next day when the people either came round or wrote to them, obviously there was no emails then or messages or whatever, but the people, because they'd gone down, put the name and addresses down, telephone number, whatever, I don't know exactly what. And when these people got in touch with them, my mum and dad, the spell had broken by then, and they were like, oh my God, I can't believe we actually gave them our details. But they said in that actual hall, in that actual, well, you wouldn't call it a concert, would you? I don't know what you would call it. It was so potent, you know, the message. And they said, come down, you know, give us your details and we'll be in touch with you. Join our movement. And my mum and dad were right down there. You know, my dad was the most no-nonsense person that you could ever know. But of course, the next day the spell was broken, and I'm sure that was the same for a lot of people. But this is the type of person that Jim Jones was, charismatic. You know, like he says, I don't know what it takes to become a reverend. You know, I don't know. What do you have to do to become a reverend? But anyway, he was a reverend, and he's always referred to. I didn't know that Leonardo DiCaprio played him. I haven't seen that film, if he did. But anyway, so I think we can all agree in the beginning he actually was quite, you know, a good person. So let's have a look. Oh, what have I done there? So if we have I'll leave the pictures on while I just read to you a little bit about him. When I find where I've put it. Yeah. So he was born on May the 13th in 1931, and he was 47 when he died, and we'll explain later about how he died. So he was an American preacher. And when he was a child, he was religious because his dad was religious. He was ordained as a Christian minister in the Independent Assemblies of God. And he went through lots of, you know, he became influenced by lots of reverends, lots of preachers, they call them, don't they, in America, rather than priests or whatever. Anyway, in 1964, he became ordained a minister by the Disciples of Christ. And he moved in 1965 to California because he'd been in Indiana up to then, but he did find that he started to try and create this organization built on socialist, and he was a self-confessed communist, socialist. Bearing in mind this was just after the Second World War. Now, I think we have to contextualize this as well, because after the war, there was a hysteria towards communism, wasn't there? Even though we'd all, you know, when you think about it, all the allies, Russia was an ally, you know, even though, but the communism of Russia was so alien to capitalism, like in America and Britain. They could have, even though they joined together to defeat the Nazis and to defeat, you know, to win World War II, afterwards we set into this Cold War era. So I think it's important to realise that in the Cold War there was a hysteria, especially in America, towards communists. And we're going to look at that. Just look at now. A lot of the information that I got for the, I mean, I knew most about this case anyway, but a lot of the YouTube information that I got for this case was from, I need to give them credit, so hopefully they won't copyright strike me because I'm going to use a little bit of their material. This is a channel called Unpredictable, and the video was the Jonestown Massacre Explained. And I found it a very good video with a lot of good footage on it. And I know the footage is openly available, so I don't think they can do me for the copyright of the footage, but you just never know, do you? But anyway, so we're going to look at, to contextualize what it was like at the time, the environment that Jones was trying to fight. So he started off in Indiana, and he found that there was so much resistance to what he's doing now. Also, what you've got to remember is the racism then. You know, I mean, in the 50s or whatever, there was still so much racism and segregation and etc. And he was like trying to unite everybody under this socialist communist umbrella. And this is why I try and say that I think in the beginning he actually was a good person, but something happened as time went on. And this, what was going on in America at the time was the McCarthy witch hunts, you know, communism, McCarthyism. So anti-communism, it was untrue. So we're going to just have a look at that.
In recognizing a communist, physical appearance counts for nothing. If he openly declares himself to be a communist, we take his word for it. If a person consistently reads and advocates the views expressed in a communist publication, he may be a communist.
Senator Joseph McCarthy's anti-communist politics was making it very difficult and dangerous for anyone to identify as a communist.
One communist on the faculty of one university is one communist too many. And even if there were only one communist in the State Department, even if there were only one communist in the State Department, there could still be one communist too many.
Senator McCarthy was a stern opponent of socialism and would regularly use spear tactics to ruin the public reputation of anyone who identified as a communist from all parts of America. This practice was later coined McCarthyism.
The next step of your indoctrination.
After experiencing some first-hand...
So, you know, that is the backdrop, if you like, to what we're sort of this story, how this story started with Jim Jones. Now, what I want to look at now, let me just make sure you're all okay in chat. I think you are. You can. Hi, Heather. Yeah, you're okay. You saw that, didn't you? Okay. So, what I want to show you now is an example from one of the meetings that he held. I want to show you the charisma of this man, or how he affected men, women, black, white, you name it. He had a charisma, a control over them. You can't deny that. And this is what intrigues me. I think, where does this come from?
Now,
let me just go back to the beginning. I mean, it's really scary, isn't it, to see these people all shapes and sizes, all colours, male, female, 8 different ages, totally hysterical over this guy.
Now will each of you, with a fond embrace, a salutary kiss of greeting to your neighbor, let's fill this atmosphere with warmth and love.
Well, so obviously these were pre-COVID days. So, he's telling them all to, turn to each other and kiss each other, etc. I tell you, I don't know about you. I mean, I quite like going to church. I'm not a religious person. I don't believe in religion. But I quite like churches because I like the peace in churches and, things like that. But I don't believe in any religion. I'm a person who believes in something, I don't know what, a higher power, whatever, but I don't believe in religion because religion is horrible in my eyes. But whenever I've been to church, which actually I haven't been for a long time now, but I do occasionally go to church, and pre-COVID days when they'd say to you, oh, turn around and shake the hand of the person next to you, that's a big trauma to me. So the thought of turning around and actually kissing someone, I'd be like, whoa, no, thank you. Out of my space, out of my bubble, please. I wouldn't like that at all. Not at all. And of course, after COVID, it'd be even worse. I wonder what they do now after COVID, if they still share. Oh, well, the last time I went to church was when I went to Pride de Luz about the Madeleine McCann case. And I went to that church there. And I'm trying to think, did we have to actually shake hands? I'm trying to think what they did. I probably got it on no, I didn't video that bit. I can't remember if all we had to do was just turn around and smile at someone. I don't think we had to shake someone's hand because everything will have changed after COVID. But obviously you can see here, they're all just mingling. Oh, that's just a COVID high, isn't it?
Now as we meditate, God is love. Love is a healing remedy. We're going to reach out to areas where man has seemed to have difficulty. As we concentrate that the gifts of the Holy Spirit might function, or what the secularist might.
See this woman's face? This girl, woman, whatever here. Look at her. I mean, she's looking at him as if he's like God incarnate.
Might speak of as the paranormal. Let us believe. Let us believe.
Now, I'm going to make you laugh a little bit now, because when I saw that woman looking at him like that, and these women too, but especially her, it made me think of something. Do you remember this? Do you remember Nadine Dorris looking at Boris Johnson? Did you think Boris Johnson, he was like a cult leader? Look at her. She looks just like that woman. Something's gone on between them two. And if it hasn't gone on between them, she wishes it had. She's looking at him adoringly, isn't she? Anyway, let's go back to what I'm supposed to be talking. I just thought that might make you laugh. Oh, sorry. I think you can't see me. I can't see it. Hang on, hang on.
One of our sisters blind.
Oh, look at that. I realised quickly.
See. You're not able to see me clearly.
So she's blind at the moment,
Things just
but not for
blur
long.
to you. You have to stumble around lately through crowds and are not able to see even people's faces close up to you clearly.
That's true.
You've told me nothing about your condition. Is that
No,
correct?
I haven't.
Give that little sweetheart a little bit of love. Thank you, baby.
Oh my God, in some ways you can see.
Now, take your glasses off. Just dare in our faith. We've seen Sister Brown here who was blind, totally healed. Saw one of our sisters blind from her childhood. It could be hysterical blindness, whatever. We're not concerned. She was blind and could not see. Now, look at my face. I'm going to hold up some fingers. You concentrate hard. I love you. The people love you. And most importantly, Christ loves you. What do you see? How many fingers?
3.
Hallelujah. Right, I'll probably get binned off for copyright, so I'm just coming off that. So what do you think? Do you think you could get, well, do you think you could get sort of hooked in by that? I mean, what do you think? How would it, you know, are we above that now? Is that something that was unique to that time? Because there was a lot of that going on at the time, wasn't it? Supposedly he cured a blind woman. Supposedly, let's see if we can see. I think there's another miracle on here. Let's see. When I say miracle, I mean miracle. Let's see if I can. I'm just worried about them. You know what it's like. Let's see.
Reach the fingers out that are bothering you. Now, is the pain gone?
The pain's gone. The pain's gone. Oh my God. Wow. The pain is gone. Hallelujah. Oh my God. The thing is, I'm making fun of it, but at the end of the day, you know, people believed him. People believed him. Look at them all. So, you know, what can I say? So that's basically how he was building up his followers. Now, they took, in the end, he moved the church, the People's Temple. He moved it to Los Angeles, California, because he found in Indiana people weren't accepting, you know, there was all this, there was, he got a lot of stick about being a communist. He got a lot of stick about, you know, interracial, you know, you could see there were black people, there were white people, there were young people, there were old people, there was a mixture of everyone. And he got a lot of stick about that. So he took his church to California, where California was a much more liberal sort of society. So he got a better reception there, if you like. And he grew the People's Temple. Now, the thing is, what really makes me angry about this guy, I mean, there's a lot of things, because he's horrible in the end. He started off nice, but it became horrible in the end. He preyed on vulnerable people, because a lot of these people, they were poor. And what he did was he would get them to sign over in exchange for being a member of the People's Temple, and, you know, I suppose ostensibly sort of looking after them. They would sign over their social security checks. They weren't rich people. I mean, there would have been some rich people that were in his church, but most of them were poor people, and they would sign over their social security checks, etc. So, you know, it wasn't nice for that. But again, they always pick on vulnerable people. So about 75% of his congregation were, to be honest, poor black people, you know, that signed over their social security checks. They were easy for him to prey on, you know, and predators always prey on people that it's easy to prey on, don't they? I mean, that's just, you know, how it works. Okay, so where are we going after that? So as time went on, even in California, even in liberal California, he was getting a lot of heat, if you like. He was getting scrutinized. People were starting to ask, where's this money going? Where are people's money going? And so what he decided to do was find somewhere else to open he wanted to open a community. So not only a church, because up to then it had just been a church where people were going to. What he wanted to do was actually start a community where people would live. And he looked at many, many different countries, and he settled on Guyana. And the reason he settled on Guyana in the end, it was a political reason. Now, let me just find the details of it. Yeah, because at the time in Guyana, there was... Guyana was a socialist country for a start. So he chose Guyana because they approved of him being a socialist. And the group's own, you know, the People's Temple was becoming more and more socialist as time went on, you know, more and more communist, trying to stick to the communist sort of, you know, I do feel over the years, communism in itself is a lovely principle. It just doesn't work in real life, unfortunately. So it's become almost like a swear word, hasn't it? It's become a bad word, but it's wrong from the actual, you know, basic principles of communism are good, but they've been perverted over the years because of what governments have done. They've taken the principle of communism and totally, you know, just made it fit their own agenda. That started in Russia, of course. Anyway, they had they knew that they were getting more and more attention, and they had they knew they were going to get investigated soon by the police or the media. So what they did was they looked for a place that they could escape to away from America, and they ended up choosing Guyana. Firstly, because it was a socialist country. Also, it had no extradition treaty with the US, so they knew that they could go to Guyana and be safe there, if you like, out of the reach of America. So in October 1973, the directors of the People's Temple, which will have been Jim and his mates, if you like, his left-hand people, because they were, you know, he did have women on his left hand as well. You know, this was not a male-female thing, a black-white thing. This was, everybody was involved in this. And they passed a resolution to establish an agricultural mission in Guyana. So there you go. So they did. That's what they did. They bought land in Guyana. They found that in Guyana they could give money to the government and sort of you know, the government would turn a blind eye to certain things, let them do whatever they wanted, basically. And also, because it was a predominantly black country, they felt that their black members, which were predominant, which were mainly black people in the People's Temple, they would have a safe place to live, a peaceful place to live where they would be accepted. As far as the Guyanese government were concerned, for them it was brilliant to, I wonder if I've got a picture here, let me just see, of where Guyana is on the map. Let's see. Yeah, because at the time Guyana was sort of in the middle of things that were political things that were going on, and for the Guyanan government, they thought it would be good to have Americans in their country, because that would stop stop America coming in and doing anything bad in their country. If they had like a load of Americans there, it was almost like a shield, a buffer, if you like, as far as the guy, and of course the money that they were bringing in and everything. So that was the mixture of it. So, right, let me see. So we're going into the now. So when it first started, there was only a few people, I think. They went off to a place near Georgetown in Guyana, and they bought this land, built this agricultural centre, and they called it Jonestown. Okay, and it was located in the jungle 150 miles west of the capital of Guyana, which was Georgetown. Oh, that's right. The disputed border was Venezuela. So you've got Venezuela on one side, the USA on the other side. And as far as Guyana was concerned, they were happy to have Americans there that would sort of be a buffer in between these two disputed borders. Yeah, Venezuela, you know, it's a country. I've met quite a few Venezuelan people living here in Spain. Lovely people. Really, really lovely people. I've met a lot of South American people, Colombians, Peruvians, you know, and they're lovely, lovely people. Anyway, so there was only 500 members first went to colonize this place. That's the only were 500 members. But as time went on, then I don't know how they did it. I suppose they still have people in America, etc., encouraging people to come and join them. And they ended up creating this community, which was described as, I suppose it's a bit like a kibbutz. If you've ever heard of a kibbutz, do they still exist now? You know, I remember when I was growing up, a lot of people would talk about kibbutzes. A lot of people would go off and live on kibbutzes, like these socialist agricultural places, and that's what Jonestown was. And Jones himself had reached an agreement with the Guyanan government to guarantee that they would let more temple members come in. And of course, you know, this was all paid for like by cash. So I mean, they had loads of money. I don't know where they got their money from, really. From the social security checks of most of the residents, I suppose. But it was held up as a benevolent communist community. And Jones stated, "I believe we're the purest communists there are." And his wife, Marceline, described Jonestown as dedicated to live for socialism, total economic and racial and social equality. We're all here living communally. So, the principle of it is good, isn't it? Really? I mean, you know, at the end of the day, you can't argue with the principle. It's something happened. I don't really know what happened. I mean, it grew. First of all, it grew. More and more people came. So in the end, there were nearly 1,000 people living on this complex. Also, although the People's Temple was active in humanitarian causes, apparently, you know, now we learn that a lot of the followers were humiliated, beaten, abused, blackmailed. Many were coerced or brainwashed into signing over their possessions, including their homes, to the church. And where this all started, sort of, you know, it started off all very nicey, but then as time went on, Jones himself, well, they think he was taking drugs. He seemed to get into, you know, mind-altering drugs, etc. And then he started surrounding him. This is what reminded me of 1984. It was like, you know, the pigs, Napoleon, was it? And they started surrounding themselves with security guards and that. So he would go everywhere surrounded by security guards in the end. And then the people that were there realised that once they were there, they couldn't leave. Their visas had been, he had contacts in the government there, their visas were limited, and so they were scared that they could not leave. You know, even if they wanted to leave, I mean, they said that they were free to leave at any time, but if they actually tried to leave, they would be humiliated or put into prisons. And apparently children were put in holes. If children misbehaved, they were put in holes upside down overnight and things like that. There were lots of, you know, there's lots, I mean, the only sort of proof, if you like, we have are from survivors, obviously. But, you know, it seems that there were a lot of bad things going on there. And these rumours leaked out and went, you know, came out to like America. And of course, relatives of the people that had gone off to Jonestown were starting to say, well, you know, we can't contact our relatives, etc. So Jim Jones, eventually, over years, let me just see how many years it actually went on for. It was quite a few years, I think. So it all went wrong in 1978. So when did he actually, let me just see when he actually formed this. So the actual People's Temple was formed in 1955. They went to California in 1965. And in 1973, they went to Guyana. And then the tragedy that I'm going to tell you about happened in 1978. So they'd been there 5 years building this socialist utopia. But, you know, you can imagine it, 900 people living, let's see if I can find some photos to show you of what it was like. Let me just present them. So this is what it's like. So it reminded me of the concentration camps, to be honest. Don't look at the pictures under there. You won't want to see them, that's for sure. But I'm trying to look at the actual huts. Yeah. So it was like this. It's like Heidi High, isn't it? Or whichever way you look. It reminds me of Butlins. I went to Butlins once years ago. God, I hated it. It was a little bit like that. It's like the chalets, isn't it? So they lived communally, they ate communally, they ate very simply, you know, and they made but the thing is, they grew their own vegetables and that, but it wasn't as much as they could because it wasn't a place that was rich in agriculture. You know, they still had to import a lot of things, you know. God, I mean, to me, it just looks awful. I would hate that. I would hate to live communally like that. But, you know, I think for some of these people, and as I say, all ages, so there were babies there, there was old people, really old people there, seniors, he called them. If you've ever watched The Walking Dead, and I know some of you do watch The Walking Dead, this is what the governor In The Walking Dead, the character, the governor in The Walking Dead, was based on Jim Jones. The way he talked about the seniors and all the different, trying to, anyway. If you know about The Walking Dead, you'll know what I mean. If you haven't watched The Walking Dead, you won't know what I mean. So this is it. This is where they were living. But all these rumours were coming back to America, and relatives were starting to complain. You know, like, why can't we come? Because what Jim Jones was doing, he was controlling everything. So of course these weren't the days of social media anyway, and that, you know, people didn't have a smartphone that they could send a WhatsApp to their family or whatever. But even if they had, he cut off everything. There was no TV. All there was there, the only contact there with the outside world was from him. So he was telling them all sorts of things. He told them that they had that if anything ever happened, they had a contact with Russia, and they could send a code word to Russia, and Russia would come in and get them all and take them off to Russia. He told them a right load of crap. And then what he did on a regular basis, they had these what they call white nights, white nights rehearsals. So what he would do in the middle of the night, he would set off like a hooter thing, calling them all to the main hall. They had a big assembly hall. He would call them all there and tell them they had to drink this drink because, you know, it was all over, and they had to prove how much they loved him by all taking this drink, whatever it was, and that it was, it would kill them, that they would have to commit mass suicide. And this is what he would say to them. And they did this a couple of times near to the end of everything. And they would do it. They would do it. And then 45 minutes later or so, he would say to them, it's just a practice. It's just a rehearsal. You know, there's no poison in there. You're fine. You'll be fine. But they had drank. And bearing in mind, not only had they drank it, they'd given it their children. You know, they'd all gone along with him to these white night rehearsals, practicing mass suicide. And they went along with it. So anyway, but they were just practice runs. He knew, also because of the drugs, etc., and he was in ill health. Nobody knows really exactly what was going on with his health at the time, but it seems generally accepted that he was ill, that he might have had a series. I mean, he was only 47, but of course he'd been taking drugs, you know, all his life. So he was having strokes. He was apparently had some sort of lung problem, lots of problems that he had, and he was becoming increasingly paranoid. He was also abusing the members. You know, there's a lot, I don't want to go into all the details of that, but there's a lot of stories of, you know, he was just your typical by then. So he'd gone from this really nice guy who really, I honestly do think in the beginning had an idea of a utopian society. And then he turned into this despot who was just, you know, making the most of his power for whatever he wanted to. And apparently he wasn't above, you know, abusing men or women. It made no difference to him, or children. You know, he was, you know, anyone would do. And people who did live there and have children, people who did live there and have children, they weren't allowed to see their children in their day. All the children, all the people there, in fact, had to call him Dad. He was Dad. He had to be called Dad. And they would not see their children until maybe an hour at night. They might get an hour at night alone with their children. Well, not alone, but to actually spend. Children were brought up communally. That is like in the kibbutzes, etc. Got bangers going on outside, so the dogs are scared now, bless them. So, yeah, you know, it was all going wrong. And then all these inquiries were coming from outside till eventually then. So what happened that kicked it all off is a congressman, Leo Ryan, his name was, and I will show you a picture of him. I just want to explain to you what the situation was at the time. So the demographics of Jonestown at the time were in 1977, so the year before, there was a total of 999 people in Jonestown, of which 691 were black, 246 were white, and 39 were mixed race. And then it says other here, 23. I don't know what other would mean. And females, out of the 999 people that were in Jonestown, 638 were females and 361 were males. So, just to let you know. So, anyway, somewhere in between all this going on and before Leo Ryan appeared, the congressman came and visited the complex. Somehow, you know, presumably because of backhanders to the Guyanese government, they had received arms there, they'd received cyanide there, drugs, you know, you name it, they had everything there. How that came in over the border, it must have been to do with money, you know, backhanders to the Guyanese. You know, I think the Guyanese government, really, they were just swayed by what, you know, whatever Jim Jones paid them. And by then, they had millions. The People's Temple, he didn't even spend everything that they had, because he did as himself live a simple life apart from the drugs. So, you know, they had millions and millions of pounds, well, not pounds, sorry, dollars. Anyway, so a couple of things happened in 1977, in September 1977. Former temple members that had escaped, they wanted their child back, because the thing is, occasionally would let people go, but they could not take their children with them, so they were trying to get their children back. So what happened was, Jim Jones, he tried to make out he was being attacked, and he set up a false sniper attack. God, I'm talking about sniper attack, and what is it? As soon as I start, it's like the Raoul Moat stream, you know, as soon as I said about Raoul Moat shooting himself, this big bang went on. Anyway, there was a lot of things going on. So he was getting more and more increasingly paranoid. Lots of concerned relatives were coming out, etc. You know, and he had his declining physical and mental health as well to contend with. So he told his followers he had lung cancer. Whether he did or not, I don't know. They did do an autopsy, and you would have thought they would come up, but he was definitely abusing lots of drugs at the time. What you might call legal drugs, Valium, stimulants, barbiturates. And he'd been having strokes. He'd lost 30 to 40 pounds in weight, temporary blindness, convulsions, and swelling of the extremities. It's a shame he couldn't cure his own blindness, wasn't it? I mean, he was a healer. Why couldn't he just cure himself? Anyway, he had insomnia. He just started to get a little bit strange, just in general, or stranger, let's say. So he's increasing paranoia and everything. And on the top of all this, who pops up then is this Congressman Leo Ryan comes along to try and find out, you know, what the situation is. Now, everything started off fine. I'm going to show you, because I think this is, so they had a big party. Let me just, let's So on this YouTube that I'm looking at, the unpredictable, they call it the calm before the storm, because when the congressman arrived to sort of, you know, put people's mind at rest, etc., and to see what was going on there, all started off brilliantly. It was great. You know, he was really impressed. They were treated, well, you'll see, him and the people that he went with, they were treating it like, it was almost like a day out. They were taking photos and there was entertainment laid on and everyone was laughing and singing, etc. This is the guy, Leo Ryan, actually talking after he's been to, you know, they've all been dancing and he's been fed and they've had this fantastic evening. And he's here now saying, oh, God, you know, from what I can see, there's nothing to worry about. Let me just reverse that a bit. Right, so this is where it all went wrong. At 2:15, two of the cult members passed notes to the people that were there visiting to say, please, you know, get us out of here. We want to leave. Can we come with you? And one of them, he went on to say, I don't, you know, he does say it on here, but I don't like playing it too much in case some, you know, copyright. He said he gave the note to the guy and it dropped on the floor. So he had to pick up the note and give it back to him. And the child, one of the children there went, he passed him a note, he passed him a note and snitched on him. He was terrified. You can imagine, can't you? You know, because they were encouraged in Jonestown. Again, this is where it's like 1984 or Animal Farm or one of those Orwellian novels. They were encouraged, children were encouraged to tell on their parents, or husbands were encouraged to tell on their wives, or wives on their husbands, fathers and mothers on their own children. Everyone was encouraged to snitch if anybody said anything bad against the People's Temple or Jim Jones. They were encouraged, you know, to snitch on them, and God knows what happened to them. Anyway, let's go forward a little bit. Oh, so they challenged Jim Jones with this fact that notes had been passed to them. Let's see what it says. So apparently even in Guyana you can get black hair dye, because he's definitely dyeing his hair black there, isn't he? Now, one thing I do want to say is right what he said, that guy that passed that note, he left, and he's a survivor, he's still alive now, but he left his child there. I don't think I could have done that. Oh, you can't see it. Oh, I've done it again. Sorry, hang on.
Jones were told by several members that they wanted to leave Jonestown.
Sometimes. Let's go back.
Whatever the comments are, there are some people here who believe that this is the best thing that ever happened in their whole life.
Everything seemed to be going well, but
Now, this is Leo Ryan, the congressman, and after the first evening there, you know, everything seems to be
You know that I'm here to find out more about questions that have been raised about your operation here. But I can tell you right now that from the few conversations I've had with some of the folks here already this evening, that whatever the comments are, there are some people here who believe that this is the best thing that ever happened in their whole life.
everything seemed to be going well. But under the surface, Jones was losing grip and his paranoia was setting in. It was later revealed and confirmed that Jones had run rehearsals on how to try and convince Ryan that nothing was wrong. But apparently, Jones didn't pay enough.
So yeah, then the two members gave the notes. What I want to go to now is to Jim's reaction to the fact that the notes were given.
On the following day, Harris confronted Jones about the note.
Last night, someone came and passed me this note. He's the one that I'm just talking about. Yeah, this is the man that wants to lose his son here. Doesn't it concern you, though, that this man, for whatever reason, one of the people in your group... People play games, friend. They lie. What can I do about liars? Are you people going to leave us? I just beg you, please leave us. Bill, we will bother nobody. Anybody wants to get out of here can get out of here. We have no problem about getting out of here. They come and go all the time. I don't know what kind of game. People like publicity. Some people do.
So he said anyone can leave whenever they want, but it wasn't true. So they then started asking people who wants to leave, and about 20 people came forward, which isn't a lot when you think about it. Out of 900 people, 20 is not a massive percentage, but 20 people came forward and said, yes, we'd quite like to leave. And then one of the people who came forward, which really surprised everyone, was one of his Larry Layton, which is one of his real followers, put his hand up and said, I want to leave. And everyone was surprised. Why does he want to leave? Anyway, the congressman said, okay, you come with us. And they set off to the airport, the small airport, because this is a place obviously miles away from anywhere. And they were going to get on a little tiny plane to go to the main village of, I think it was Georgetown or whatever, to get a plane then to the USA. Just before they went, someone came out of the crowd and tried to stab the governor, Leo, tried to stab him, kill him, but didn't manage to do it. So he went off shaken. You know, that's when I think he realised just what danger they were in. Off they went to the airport. So let's see, I'll just show you a little bit of that. So Larry got into the truck with the others, even though Larry was really, as far as that, everyone was shocked to see him go, because he was actually, you know, a big follower. This is them going to the plane. There's a plane there. I think this lady was one of the members of the People's Temple, thinking she was escaping, but unfortunately that didn't quite happen.
And the delegation wasted no time boarding the plane. The 6-passenger Cessna was the first aircraft that was set up for takeoff, and while the aircraft taxied to the far end of the airstrip, Larry Layton, the Temple loyalist, took out a handgun and started shooting at random inside the plane.
Yeah, so once he got on the plane, this Larry Layton, he just started shooting. So he was a patsy, you know, or not patsy, what's the word? He was is it decoy? You know, that word decoy. He was like a Trojan horse, if you like, or he he, was pretending that he wanted to leave, but really what he wanted to do was shoot everyone. Anyway, he wasn't successful, and he was subdued. And he is actually still alive to this day, as far as I know. He did serve a prison sentence, but he's out. So they thought they were going, they'd fought him off, and I think, they must have known then they were really, really in danger.
In his rampage, he wounded Bagby and Ghazni, 2 temple members, and reportedly had tried to kill a third, but was ultimately discovered. Was a sinister plan. Jones and other aides were preparing a large tub.
Is that one of those people on that plane is
I'll go to that later, because what I want to tell you about now is then what happened. So they're all there at the airport. The people, well, it's not even an airport, it's an airstrip. The people that want to escape from the temple, Leo and all the other people that went with him in the first place. And then a truck comes out of the woods, and in the truck are a load of the security guards of Jim Jones with a gun, and they start shooting and they start opening fire. Now, this is perhaps the time to tell you that all this is documented. Photographs, videos, there's a lot, it's not a good thing to look at, but it's all available online. I'm not going to share it all on here. I'm going to just show you this tab, because this is where it all is. It's on the California Historical Society. Now it starts off with just, look, this is the nursery. These were the babies that were born there, or some of them that were born there. There's an internet archive with the photos, the nice photos of like when it was good and when it first started. But unfortunately, if you carry on, it does go into every photo is on there, which obviously I'm not going to show, but there's a lot of photos on there that are very distressing. But there's also photos that are interesting because they give you an idea of what it was like there. What it was like when it was good, if you like. And, when you think if only 20 went off there out of 90 odd that were there, were the others happy there? I don't know. Maybe they were happy. Anyway, I don't understand it if they were, but maybe they were. Now, where am I going now? So, this lorry came out of the truck, came out of the woods, started shooting, killed the governor, killed all the other people that were there, and then just went off and left anybody else there injured. And what was happening in the meantime, back at the People's Temple, was Jim Jones had called all the, all the residents of Jonestown. He had called them all to the congregation hall, and he was giving a speech. And these are all available as well on internet. And I'm going to play a little bit of it, but they'll come to a point where I'll stop playing it, and you'll know why I'm stopping playing it. But this is called the death tape. Now, bearing in mind that after this all happened, the FBI went in and recovered hundreds of tapes, because Jim Jones had taped every sermon that he gave. This is the final tape. It's very poignant to listen to. If you listen to that, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I think it's important to just play this bit. So he's congregated everybody in the hall, and he's telling them what's going to happen, that the governor and everybody there is going to be shot. He knew this was going to happen because he'd ordered them to do it. He said he didn't do it, he didn't order it, but he did. Because he knew what was going to happen. They're going to shoot that pilot and down comes that plane. He told them to do that. So he's telling them, you know, these people are going to be shot, then more people are going to come. They're going to torture the children. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. See, that just struck me. Because one lady, her name was Christine, she stood up and tried to say, no, you know, you can't, you know, what about the children? And he said all this, no man takes my life from me, I lay my life down. Oh gosh, I haven't got it on there. God, I've got to stop forgetting that, haven't I? So it's me again, as usual. Right, let me go back again.
That plane is gonna shoot the pilot. I know that. I didn't plan it, but I know it's going to happen. They're going to shoot that pilot, and down comes that plane into the jungle. And we had better not have any of our children left when it's over, because they'll parachute in here on us and step over quietly, because we are not committing suicide. It's a revolutionary act. We can't go back. They won't leave us alone. They're now going back to tell more lies, which means more congressmen. And there's no way we can survive. 1,200 people's lives in my hands, and I certainly don't want your life in my hand. But I'm going to tell you, Christine, without me, life has no meaning.
I'm going to tell you, Christine, without me, life has no meaning. That's because this woman, as I was saying earlier, sorry, I didn't have it on thing, Christine, she'd stood up and said, no, not the children, you know, please not the children. I'm happy to lay down my life for you, but please not the children. And then she said something to him. I don't know if it comes up on here, but I thought she said something like, well, why can't we send the message to Russia? Because Russia will come and get us. Because he'd always said to them that any time they had to escape from there, you know, that he was in touch with Russia and the other communists, because at the time Russia was full-on communist. And so she said, well, why can't we send the signal to Russia and they'll come and get us? And he's going, well, what do you mean? Well, Russia will come, because he'd been lying to them. Everything he'd said to them was a lie. And because they had no other communication with the outside world, they just believed everything he said. But the thing is that I think we've got to remember is that most of these people, not all of them, a lot of them were made to drink the Kool-Aid. I don't know, you probably hear that. It's even if you don't know about this, you'll have heard people say, oh, drink the Kool-Aid. Because it was that they were making them drink this concoction of cyanide, sedatives, etc. They were making them all drink it, and not only the people, the children, the dogs, you know, everyone, and anyone who wouldn't. A lot of people did take it voluntarily, but a lot of the ones that wouldn't, like Christine, who stood up to him, then the security guards just stepped in and took them off and made them drink it. And if they didn't drink it, they got shot, basically. Most of them did drink it, but whether they drank it voluntarily or they were injected with it, because that was something else that was found.
I'm the best friend you'll ever have. I can't separate myself from you.
I'm the best thing you'll ever have. That's what he said to her.
Your actions are his actions. If you'd done something wrong, I'd stand with you. If they wanted to come and get you, they'd have to take me.
We're all ready to go. If you tell us we have to give our lives now, we're ready. I'm pretty sure all the rest of the sisters and brothers are with me.
Yeah, we're all ready to go. Most of them did go along with it.
For months I've tried to keep this thing from happening, but I now see it's the will of sovereign being that this happened to us. That we lay down our lives in protest against what's being done.
Now, I'm not going to go any further with that. One, because I'll get upset. But two, it's very upsetting. But it is all available online. The death tape is freely available online. The FBI went in and took all these tapes and released them for whatever reason, whether it's like a warning against cults. But it is very distressing. I'll just tell you that, because there was a lot of children there, etc. So it was, it's traumatic, but it's still important, because we have to understand how could they have gone along with all that, especially with their children and things. It's one thing you might, think, oh, well, I can see, the attraction of a cult, I think, for people is people just taking all the responsibility away from them, isn't it? They go to these places, they don't have bills to worry about, they don't have to get up they do have to get up and go to work, but it's not like, life is hard, isn't it? Life independent. When you're a kid and you always think, oh God, I can't wait till I'm older and working and earning my own money and that. And then when you get older, you think, oh God, I wish I was living at home with my mum and dad and they were just paying for everything and I didn't have anything to worry about. That's what it's like, isn't it? There. Anyway, there was a couple of survivors. There was one very old guy who just pretended to be dead. There was another lady, and again, a very old lady, who hid under a bed and they didn't see her, so she survived. There was a couple of people that had gone off, and weren't murdered at the airport. So, totally off his face, maggot. I don't know whether to call you mellow or maggot or mellow maggot, but yeah, he's totally drugged up. Now, Jim himself, he shot himself. He was found, he had his head on a pillow, so he died in a bit of comfort, I suppose, and they think he shot himself. Some people say one of his, can you hear me? Sorry, I turned off my, sorry about that. By accident, I turned off my, can you hear me okay? I touched the, well, that's what the lady did. Hi, Caroline. Sorry, I probably didn't say hello to you before. How did he convince people? Hi, Tina. I think he convinced people in the beginning because he was genuine in the beginning. I really do think he was genuine. In his mind, thinking that he wanted this utopian society, but he was probably always a little bit loopy, a narcissist or whatever. I don't know. But as time went on, I think he just got increasingly paranoid, and then there was illness, drugs. You take those drugs for years, they're going to have an effect, aren't they, on you, Now, that's not true, David. There are cults in the UK too, and in lots of places. So I don't think I think it's a bit of a product of the time because of the communism thing, and it was a time then when people, all that with the religious fervour. Do you still get that now? I don't know. I don't think we get that so much in the UK. That they do get that more in the USA. I think this religious, almost hysteria, but you do get some things like that here. But anyway, yeah, very manipulative. So let me just see, is there anything else that I wanted to show you? Yeah, so this, if you want to see photos, and believe me, there are photos on here that you would probably like to unsee once you've seen them, because everything, I don't understand that. I wouldn't like to think of my loved one, just there for everyone to see. But there's positive photos on there of how it was in the beginning. I mean, it really does, look like this sort of. I'm just going to see, do kibbutzes still exist? Do people know? Right, okay. So, yeah, there are still kibbutz in Israel. Total population of around 120,000. They represent about 2.8% of Israel's population. And most kibbutz members work in some section of the kibbutz economy or in one of its maintenance units. So, I just remember, sorry, I just put that on there. They were very popular, weren't they, at one point? I remember when I was young reading about them. Oh, here you go. There you've got some kibbutzes. What's the difference, really? What is the difference? Why? It's a very similar type. God, that's this picture with the kids on it. That's almost like the picture of Jonestown. Gosh. Oh, sorry, it wouldn't do for me. Sorry. I just couldn't stand it. People in my space, I couldn't bear it. I mean, that all looks lovely in that, but God, yeah, not for me. But yeah, it's that similar sort of socialist. Oh, Jackie, did you get thrown off the stream? Yeah, I think, well, again, it comes from George Orwell, doesn't it, when he says, power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's how it is. So what happens is there's always someone who wants that bit more, isn't there? So they can call it, like with Jonestown, he always had more than the other people that lived there. I mean, he lived frugally, in comparison of, most people, but he still had more than they did, but more than the others had. He had better food than they had. He had better clothes than they had. He had better comfort than they had. There's always someone who rises to the top. It's, you're not going to, everybody's not the same, are they? But it wouldn't suit me. But I know I've missed loads of chat. But anyway, I'm sure you've all been nice to each other, I'm sure. So let me just make sure that there's nothing that I've forgotten to tell you. Because I always sort of, yeah, as I say, go on to this California if you want to know the full details. But believe me, just be ready for it, because it's quite distressing. To see all the pictures. There's the whole death tape. There's all the tapes that they took from Jonestown of every sermon that he ever did. you know, and he's really scary to listen to by then. But, you know, people, so this is really the point for me of doing this video and think, why do people go along with these kind of things? Why do they follow charismatic leaders? You know, you see it in a watered down version with populism. You know, we've had the rise of populism, haven't we? We've had Trump, with Boris Johnson, and these populist leaders that have been, I mean, it's nothing like this, but it's a watered down version of it. To me, another example is Zelensky in Ukraine. You know, it's like, goes around sort of like talking all these things. He's going now. His luster, if you like, is going. There's Putin. He's another one. You know, they're leading. It's like this massive cult, isn't it? They're the cult of personality. Because I'll tell you what, I've had a lot of Russian students, and they love Putin. They love him. They don't, you know, they respect him. They think he's doing the best for Russia, whether we agree with it or whether we don't. That's what they think. And then you've got a lot of people who think Zelensky is brilliant, but a lot of Ukrainians don't. A lot of Ukrainians like Putin. You know, so it's a very complicated situation. And that is a very, like we have it in our country, but we don't experience, you know, this extreme, you know, we're very lucky, I think, in Britain, that although we've been to wars, we've never had war on our soil. You know, we've never had an invasion, you know, people coming into our country. I mean, we've had the bombs like the Blitz and things like that, but that's different from someone actually coming in, invading your country. But those people that, like Hitler, he was another one. Hitler, Mussolini, they were popular. They, you know, they weren't there in charge of the countries and unpopular. They were popular. So this is what I'm trying to say, is what makes these people popular? Why do people, you know, if you take Hitler as an example, I mean, everyone knew that Hitler, what he was about and what he was planning to do, because he'd written a book outlining it all. Mein Kampf said exactly what he was intending to do, but people still voted for him, and still, you know, I don't know, just intrigues me, because I think when we saw that him giving that, what would you call it, preaching at that thing, and everyone was hysterical. You know, that hysteria is like what you get at concerts and that, with teenage girls and things, you know, like just go into like a swoon. How does that happen? Where does that come from? You know, I'm very interested in it. Just the psychology of it. Where does it come from? Oh. Someone's ringing me from Valencia. I know exactly. It'd just be one of them. Whenever I get a call on that phone, it's propaganda. Not propaganda, publicity. Anyway. So yeah, Charles Manson was another one. Because you know, Charles Manson, he didn't actually kill anyone. Charles Manson didn't kill anyone himself, did he? He just made other people do it. He talked other people into doing it. Which is really, you know, what a lot of leaders do, don't they? They don't do anything. They just get other people to do it. Right, I know when we're on to talking about pole dancing, that it must be time to finish. So I'm sorry, it's not a very cheerful one tonight, but I think it's intriguing, don't you? I hope I cheered you up with the boa and the hairpiece and whatever. I feel like I quite enjoyed getting dressed up, actually, because I don't, my face is all a bit red. I don't know why, because I've not been in the sun or anything. Did Hitler kill anyone himself, though, Stuart? Well, he was in the First World War, of course. I mean, Hitler's a whole nother thing. You know, Hitler fought in the First World War, didn't he? And then, of course, the First World War was a disaster for Germany, and that really was what led to the rise of Hitler, how he appealed to the German people, because he was going to make Germany great again, you know. No, what I'm saying is, I know he killed millions, but what I'm saying is, a lot of these leaders, they don't kill anyone personally. They get other people to do their dirty work for them, don't they? That's what they do. I agree, Caroline. I do think that Jim wants it in the beginning. You know, this quite often happens. People start off with the best intentions, and then they just go like, you think, my God, what happens to them? You know, I think with Jim Jones, I think he did want people to be equal in the beginning. I genuinely do think he had, you know, and then why or how it happened, or I just think it's the power gets to them. I honestly do think. Trump was another one. If you see I've seen a documentary about Trump. And apparently, you know, when he was younger and everything, he was he was a nicer person. But as he got older, he just got a bit more contemptuous of people. But then, of course, a lot of people still like Trump, and I still, these things. Anyway, never mind. Turned it off again. Now, I don't know if you can hear, but outside there's like all sorts of weary like fireworks going on. I told you, I often think, one day I'll be sat here and I'll be thinking, can you hear it? I don't know if you can hear it or not. But there's a lot of like screaming fireworks going on outside. You know, nothing. It's never boring where I am. Okay. Oh, thanks, Dave. So, yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. I know enjoyed is a funny word to say, because it's obviously a very tragic case. But do you know what? That case, if I can call it a case, that is the biggest loss of life on Americans. Even more people than 9/11 died in that incident. And some people always want to call it, you know, this revolutionary suicide. Other people call it mass murder, because they say that these people didn't go voluntarily. But I think not maybe all of them, but I think a big proportion of them, they did go voluntarily. You hear it, if you listen to the death tape, you'll see that there's a couple make a protest, but not that many. So, you know, I don't know, was it a mass murder? Was it a mass suicide? Was it, I don't know how you would describe it, but there's more people died. There was more people died than in 9/11. So, there you go. Yes. Yes, don't forget to like. As always, thank you so much for being here with me. I expect I'll see you at some point tomorrow. I will not be wearing my boa though and everything. Not on a, you know, this is just for a live evening one. I feel under pressure now that I've always got to come out with a good outfit. But thank you so much. I hope I've made you laugh, maybe made you cry. I don't know. I hope I've made you think. I hope I've entertained you. That's the main thing. And remember to always live and love very wisely, very carefully. And I'll see you very soon in the next video. And until then, may your God always go with you. Thank you. Night. God bless.